Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Breaking It Downs podcast. I'm Greg. We got Kevs in from PITT, just came back from NYC, and we're obviously here to do our tourney breakdown. But before we get to that, we got to touch quickly on the Big East tournament because Kevs was just there. So, Kevs, tell everyone out there, how awesome was it? I hadn't been in years. I remember it being amazing, and I'm sure it was.
Oh, just wow. Such a great experience. Flying in Thursday night, catching the UConn Villanova game, advancing till Friday, seeing the two games in the semis on Friday night. Not the outcome we expected or wanted, but also went Saturday night to the championship game to see the Johnnies win. It's just a sea of red, super loud atmosphere. I mean, you could literally feel the excitement in the arena.
Yeah, it looked, and again, I'd been years ago, never the final, but I used to love to go the quarterfinal days, go to the four games. It looked amazing, and even where I was watching the final last night, I was watching it from somewhere where the volume wasn't on, but you could actually like see the energy, like just the visual. It seemed amazing. We said obviously St. John's being in New York, that was great. It would have been the only, I know definitely for you in particular, but it would have been great to see UConn and Johnny's in the final just for that. But
Right.
but I'm assuming it was incredible. Didn't you? You might have had a quick celebrity sighting. Did I hear correctly?
Yeah, so after the game, we're waiting for the hotel elevator, and I look over, and there's Hurley's wife, Andrea, there. Bill Murray was there the next night, waiting in the hotel lobby to get upstairs. Saw a lot of the players, their family, a couple of the Fox announcers, Casey Jacobson, Donnie Marshall. So it was the place to be for sure this weekend.
Yeah, that's cool. It definitely, like I said, even from afar, it looked like it just had that old school energy. When I was a kid living down there, I was like, it looked awesome. I was jealous in a good way for you. So, well, now thankfully, although you said Huskies lost, it wasn't their end of the season. So we're going to go to the NCAA tournament breakdown now, which is going to be outstanding. And quickly before we get to the brackets, so just what happened with the bubble teams in out Carolina, San Diego State, Texas Xavier in. Who do we have? We have West Virginia, Ohio State, Indiana, Boise State didn't get in. How did you feel overall with those decisions?
Well, right off the bat, we saw North Carolina was in the first bracket announced on CBS. So right away, I actually was a little worried that they would be knocking Xavier out of the tournament. And with my Big East allegiance, obviously want Xavier in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, I'm happy Xavier got in. I didn't think they were going to put them in, so that was a good one for me. And I know we talked about the Carolina thing is a difficult one because I do think Carolina as a team is good enough to play in this tournament. They've played much better down the stretch. They had a horrible first half against Duke. I mean, they were wretched. Take that aside, an amazing comeback that ended in heartbreak, which I know you saw, which was crazy. Lane violation on tying free throw. So it's tough because I think they are good enough to be in the tourney, but I get like for me, if someone like in Indiana or like a West Virginia, I get the gripes. But West Virginia, as I just talked to Marty Comstock, who's a West Virginia grad, like the Colorado loss was a really bad loss. That's not a good team. Bad optics. So I think on a whole, well, I think the committee got lucky because there weren't a lot of bid stealers as well. So Boise State, who we both liked, I can't argue. I think Boise State, Colorado State. I said it yesterday. This is probably an elimination game, so I can't go crazy over it. Put it that way. So Texas, the other argument I could have, and I do think same thing. Texas, Trey Johnson is phenomenal. 14 teams at the SEC. I don't know. I know they're the best conference. 14 seems a little bit much to me. That's right.
Yeah, it is.
I like I'm not trying. It's hard because you can't pick out any individual team that it's Texas in this case because they're the last one in. I know they are worthy, but I'm still like if you think it in those terms, like has 14th place in a conference ever been a good thing in any little league and Baskin Robin? I don't want to bring that up anyway. So
I guess in today's world of college basketball, it is good enough.
yeah, it is a carnival. Anyhow, so let's go over the bracket here. So that's the exciting stuff. And I'm gonna bring up mine because this is new to us as well. Watch the show, but don't I can't admit I have all 68 teams memorized. Okay, so let's start out equal. Let's get the painful stuff out of the way. And as anybody who's heard Keffs and I over the years, would you say we're fans of Duke?
Not quite.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They'd be the equivalent of hell if it were in basketball terms. So let's get them out of the way. Duke, the one seed, looks overall like they have a pretty good bracket. So for them, playing the 16 seed winner of American and Mount St. Mary's for fun's sake, because we're going to watch the game. Let's make a pick on American Mount St. Mary's first. Who's going to be the slaughterhouse for Duke?
Well, I don't know much about either team, so I'm going to take the points in this game.
Mount St. Mary's, same thing. Going Catholic underdog. Um, yeah, same here. I'll root for Mount St. Mary's. Let's go with that. Obviously, I'm going to assume you're going to have Duke going ahead over Mount St. Mary's.
Yes.
Yeah, I think even God, if he joined the team for Mount St. Mary's, they still might not win over Duke. So we'll give Duke that one. Mississippi State Baylor, the 8-9 game.
So a great matchup here. And we talked about this previously with SEC and the Big 12. It's probably my second favorite conference right now. Both teams are stacked. It's going to be, I think it's a 1 point spread, 1.5 point spread, maybe. Uh, I'm going to give
Right
the
now.
edge to Baylor with their freshman. He has the ability to just take that team on its back, and I'm going the Bears.
Yep. That was a good pun. Edgecombe, who Kev is speaking about, will most likely be a top five pick. So I like both these squads. Just as you said, I think it's going to be one of the better matchups. Mississippi State's funny to me. On their good days, Josh Hubbard's great. If you haven't seen their guard play, I mean, one of the games I watched, I think he put up 36, electric. But their defense can get shaky at that times, and if they're not shooting well, I feel like Baylor played better down the stretch. They almost beat Houston. Edgecombe has looked and played the part lately of a lottery pick. I feel like he's improved a lot. I'm with you. I'm gonna give Baylor that edge. I'm gonna take Baylor to go on to the next round, face Duke. Oregon Liberty, the 5-12 matchup. What do you got there?
I'm going to go quack quack with the Ducks. The green and yellow advance.
Yeah, give me Liberty or give me Oregon. In this case, give me Oregon. I watched Liberty's. I can't remember those little schools because you don't get to see them as much. I have liked Oregon over the year. They've played. As a matter of fact, the game they lost in the tourney, I think they were on an 8 or 9 game winning streak prior. Liberty barely got by Kennesaw in the semifinals. Like physical rebounding was an issue. Give me Oregon. 4-13 Arizona versus the Akron Zips.
Well, this is going to be a wild one with the pace of this game. Both teams like to run and gun. So I'm going to go with the Wildcats from Arizona. I'm going to put my trust in Caleb Love. When he's hot, he's hot. When he's not, could be some trouble, but I'm
We
going with Arizona.
we've used the John Starks analogy a couple times, like with him, and it's actually kind of accurate. Like when he's good, they're good. The numbers are stark. Like how Arizona plays is so predicated on how Love plays. Um, so here's the deal. I love Akron. I'm rooting for them. 5 games over 100 points this year. They know who they are. They're jacking threes. All of them can shoot. There's a little bit that Arizona has looked better. I don't trust them. They're turnover heavy early in the year. I acknowledge this is the type of game where Akron could lose by 40 if they don't shoot well, but I think this is a good spot. I'm going to take the Akron Zips high flying 3 show over Arizona in an upset. BYU 6-11 versus VCU out of the 8-10.
All right. So BYU, we've both been on that team all year. Solid. We talked about the Iowa State game in the Big 12 tournament against BYU. High scoring, up and down, just very entertaining. Definitely watch this game because it's a contrasting style. That BYU score, score, score. VCU with the defensive prowess.
No doubt.
Conflicting styles, but I'm riding the Cougars.
Yeah, and then we said prior, I told you the piss off factor for me could be pretty high in this one because usually when it's the all offense team versus the all defense team, I tend to lean the defense away because teams can have bad shooting nights. What happens then? In this case, the Keffs point though, BYU has looked so good down the stretch. It's hard to go against them. I respect VCU. I'm going BYU as well. Number 3, Wisconsin Badgers versus the 14 Montana Grizz.
I'm going with the Badgers and one of our West Coast friends in Vegas, the Wisconsin Waltons.
Yeah, big old Walton. I miss that guy. He's a blast. I'm with you. Wisconsin has more offense than they've had in past years. I don't see the upset happening in Wisconsin. Let's go 7-10. Another really good one. St. Mary's versus Vanderbilt.
Definitely, I'm looking forward to this game a lot too. St. Mary's, the regular season WCC champs, they ended up losing to Gonzaga in the West Coast Conference championship game. Um, 7 is about where they should be, I believe. Vandy coming out of the SEC has some real quality wins. I'm going to upset here. I'm taking Vandy and the Commodores.
Yeah, this is something too that I like. I know Vanderbilt's. I think they're on a 4-game losing streak now. A lot of times in the tournament, that really hasn't mattered too much. In a first round game per se. I acknowledge that, but I'm gonna. I don't. Mount St. Mary's reminds me of a lesser version of St. John's. They play very good defense, not to that level. They're not a great free throw shooting team or 3-point shooting. That worries me. But I like the overall makeup of that team experience. I'm going to take St. Mary's to actually get that win. Alabama, number 2 versus 15, Robert Morris.
The local little school here in Pittsburgh, as they are affectionately known as Bobby Moe.
Did not know that. Good tidbit.
For me, this one's a no-go for Bobby Moe. All Alabama.
Yeah, if Jack Morris was on the mound for them, I think I'd still pick Alabama in this one. So, mind you, Alabama, as we go down the road, Grant Nelson, big factor in this. He's having his knee evaluated tomorrow. If he's not, I still think Bama wins this game, but Bama could be in a world of hurt long term if he's out. Let's get to the second round of that. We have a Duke second round Duke Baylor matchup. I think we both have those. Who do you have advancing there?
Yeah, I have Duke advancing. I'll be rooting for Baylor, but unfortunately, Duke advances.
Yeah, same here. As much as listen, I'm to be objective. As much as I hate Duke, and I do, impressive run winning winning the ACC tourney without Flag and without Brown. So I agree, too strong. The inexperience of Baylor, I think, will hurt them. We'll go. We have Oregon, and you have Oregon, Arizona. Who do you have advancing there?
I have Arizona. I'm putting all my eggs in a basket with Caleb because I want to see that Arizona Duke rematch from earlier this year.
That's a good point. I obviously took Akron to upset Arizona. I do acknowledge Arizona has played much better lately, but I have Akron, Oregon. I've been high in the Oregon team. Shellstad, kid from Oregon, haven't seen him play. I feel like he hits every big shot in every game I've watched him this year. I'm going to take Oregon. Oregon will advance to Sweet 16. We then both have BYU versus the Wisconsin Waltons.
BYU.
Same here. Same here. I'm with BYU.
Advancing as well over Vandy.
So you are on Vandy versus Bama, correct?
Correct.
And who do you have there?
I have Alabama advancing in that one.
Okay. I tell you what, that game would worry me if Nelson's out. I'll pick Alabama as of now. When we get back to error later in the week, I'm admitting I could change my tune on that because we got to wait and see what happens with Nelson. I think Mary's could beat them without him. He's that big a factor. He's kind of the glue guy where they don't play a ton of defense. He's kind of a little everything. But we'll move on. So you have Duke, and who am I looking at? Duke and BYU on that side.
Yes, that is correct.
Who
That is
would,
my Elite Eight game coming out of the East.
and who do you have winning that one?
Unfortunately, the Duke Blue Devils.
Yeah, I know. I'm with you there too. Yeah, so I skipped off. I'm looking at the bracket here myself. I had Duke, Oregon. As much as I like Oregon, I don't see them beating Duke, so we'll keep that simple. I'm going to have on that side of the bracket as well. I'm going to have BYU beating. I'll keep Alabama for now. I'll have BYU over Bama, and then to get to the Final Four, you're looking at Duke, and who do you have on that side? You have Duke, BYU. You got Duke. Sorry. I am going to do the same thing. Unfortunately, I think BYU's. I don't think defensively they can match up with Duke. I can't believe we're both picking them in the Final Four. Did we really just do that?
Yeah. Do we need to start this over?
Yeah. Oh, jeez. All right. Pain's over with. Let's get to more fun. Let's go. Let's go down to the Midwest. Number 1 Houston Cougars versus SIUE. Does it really matter? So what are they? Southern India? I'm forgetting what they are. Southern Indiana, Illinois, whatever.
We'll just say Houston.
Yeah, let's go Houston. We'll go to the 8-9 game. Really good one. Gonzaga, the 8 seed versus 9 Georgia. Who you got there?
I'm going with the Gonzaga Bulldogs. I know you like them as well. You said they're a little underrated this year. We're both big fans of Ike in the middle.
Yep.
Nemhard at the point could take care of the ball, distribute, low turnovers. I think they're just a little more talented than that SEC team.
Yeah, I agree. And, like, I'm not busting on the SEC, the 14. I'm not saying it's egregious, but I don't think every one of these teams, and Georgia has played well, so this should be a really good game. But to Kev's point, Gonzaga has played much better down the stretch, no doubt about it. Battle gives them an athleticism that you haven't really seen in some years out of Gonzaga. I think Gonzaga wins a good one over Georgia. Interesting one here: the 5 Clemson Tigers versus number 12 McNeese.
Yeah, I think McNeese is going to be a very popular upset pick here. I know they have had a lot of big time transfers roll into that school with Wilt Wade as the coach. Um, and I'm down on the ACC as we talked about already.
Yep.
So I really want to pick McNeese State, uh, but I'm going with the Clemson Tigers here.
So I'm torn, and I don't. So I really do like McNeese as a team in general. My problem is this: I like Clemson's profile before this week. They lost one of their guards, Hunter, and I'm not. He's not one of their best players. They have 2 Hunters, but they looked like trash against Louisville in that game. Like the offense, they had nothing. I'm going to take an upset here because of that. I'm going to take McNeese to advance. Have some fun with that one. Number 4, Purdue versus 13 High Point.
All right, so I'm going with the upset here. The national runner-up last year, Purdue, I think is going down in the first round here. And just a shout out to Emily and Zach today. They were actually in attendance at the selection show in High Point. So they were there to witness that in the full arena with the teams and feel
That's
that.
cool.
So nice little experience.
Yeah, that is very cool. Good shout out to Zach and Emily. That's cool stuff. I'm going to agree with you with High Point, and it's not trying to get crazy on this one either. High Point's been a solid squad. Purdue don't play a lot of defense. Good guards, but again, I don't love teams that don't play defense. I'm with you. High Point with the upset. High Point, high pitch. Everybody advances. We have Illinois the 6 playing game. Very good one. Texas Xavier at 11. And well, let's get to the playing game obviously first. That's a good one. What do you think happens there?
Oh, this is a real good one. I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to this one. I'm not sure if that's Tuesday or Wednesday night, but I'll be watching for sure.
Oh yeah.
I specifically pulled this spread to see what it was. Xavier's favored by 1.5 here.
Interesting.
I'm gonna stick with my Big East boys. So I'm going with the Musketeers.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think it's a good game. I do think it's funny. So when you look at the spreads, kids, interesting you brought that up, 1.5. I think this is the type of game where you might want to take that money line because it could be a 1-point win, right? Like I think that's the type of game. I'm with you. I'm going to go Xavier to get that W. Then they meet up with Illinois. Illinois has been tough to gauge. Illinois, they've been really good at times. I looked Friday night. I'm not kidding. I looked down at the score because I hadn't seen that one on the TV yet, and it was literally like 30-6. They're down in Maryland. So anyway,
So I'm going Xavier. I'm sticking with the Big East boys here over the Big Ten fighting Illini. So Xavier Musketeers.
I'm going to do the same. And when doing your brackets, whatever you're doing out there, why I'd feel safe with taking Illinois to get upset is if Texas beat Xavier, I can see Texas beating Illinois as well. So I have no problem taking that side, no matter which it is. So I'm with you, Xavier, Illinois. We have number 3 Kentucky versus 14 Troy.
Going with the Wildcats over Troy. I know they have some injury issues as well, but going with Pope and his boys.
Yeah, I'm with you. Kentucky's they showed some guts down the stretch, even with injuries. I'm with you. Give me Kentucky. Number 7, another good one. Number 7 UCLA versus number 10 Utah State. West Coast battle.
So I'm going Utah State here. I'm not a big Mick Cronin fan. Number 1. I know UCLA could score. They've put up some points this year, and typically Cronin's teams are very defensive minded,
Yep.
but I'm going with the 10 seed here and advancing Utah State.
I'm going to agree with you. And main reason why, and I'm admitting I can't get this out of my head. UCLA about 3, 4 weeks back in a home game lost to Minnesota, and they were, I mean, absolutely wretched from the free throw line. And something like that sticks to me. So do I expect a close game? Granted, they're usually better than that. That was their worst day, but I'm for that reason alone, I'm going to take Utah State. I don't trust the bad free throws. Give me Utah State. Tennessee versus Wofford, 215.
So I'm going with the Volunteers on this one, advancing them. SEC, they're right up there, with the Auburn, Florida contingent. So easy advance.
Yeah, same here. Tennessee, and if you saw the SEC championship, they lost to Florida. It was just Florida. Florida's playing at such a high level. Tennessee had a good tournament. Nice win to Auburn. I'm with you. Tennessee rolls. We'll go second round. A good one. We both have Houston Gonzaga.
I'm going Houston, advancing.
Yeah, I don't think this is a gimme because Gonzaga, but the rebounding prowess of Houston, I think is too much. I'm with you. I'm going to take Houston there. You have Clemson and High Point.
So I advanced Clemson here.
Okay.
Again, probably questioning myself with the ACC being down.
They have been good in the tourney, though. They have. Their last few years, they actually have.
Right. Yeah, I almost got crazy there and did the 12-13, McNeese State versus High Point and having one of those teams advance. And then I ended up going Clemson. So my pick was Clemson.
Okay, so I have to because I have McNeese and High Pitch. So sorry to High Point out there. I'm buying a little bit of this McNeese team. I'm gonna take a shot at McNeese to advance Sweet 16. Going to go down that side, and we have here. We're going to have Xavier versus Kentucky.
So I'm sticking with the Wildcats. If you remember last year, I rode them. I thought they were going to be going far, and they were knocked out first round here in Pittsburgh.
Weren't you there to see it?
I was not there.
Oh, you went like the next day?
Went to the Saturday games,
okay.
The second round. But yeah, Oakland took them out, and I'm going to go back for some more. I'm going to go back for some more Kentucky. And
well, right back to it. I respect that. I'm with you. I think I'm with you. I think Kentucky. They showed some grit this year with the injuries. Like Pope, there's a new dynamic. Like they don't have the pressure they've had in past years. I think as well. So I'm with you. I think Kentucky advances. Then we're going to have you have Tennessee versus Utah State. Actually, we both do.
So I'm advancing Tennessee here. So
same.
It'll be a SEC matchup there.
Yeah.
Tennessee, Kentucky.
Same. I think just the physicality. I'm with you. We're going to have that would leave us with Houston, and you have Clemson.
And I'm going with Kelvin Sampson's Houston Cougars.
I'd agree. And I've got McNeese going against Houston. I don't think it matters. I will say if Clemson does get to that, I wouldn't completely rule out the shot that they'd have to beat Houston. But I'm with you. I think Houston's too good. Houston advances. And then it looks like we both have Kentucky and Tennessee. Am I seeing that right? I think so. Yes.
Correct. And I'm going with Kentucky.
Oh, well. You're really going to the well on that one.
Is this the SEC media hype that's getting to me, or
I don't know. Well, I mean, it doesn't matter anyway because they're both SEC. But I'm going to take Tennessee, where I think Kentucky does give a valiant effort. Tennessee's offense is better than it's been, more well-rounded. I'm going to take Tennessee. That should be a great game as well, though, if it gets to that. Which, word of caution to everyone out there, 80% of what we just said might be wrong. So anyway, it is what it is. So let's go over to South, and let me give because I meant to do it earlier, a little quick casual hello to Mr. Vincent Fowler out there who's watching, waiting for our picks. Mr. Vincent Fowler, this is for you. Let's go to the South. We have Auburn versus the St. Francis under 500 team. And is it Alabama State? I don't have it in front of me. I think it's Alabama State. Well, let's get that pick out first. The 16 Slaughterhouse.
Right. Auburn advance.
Yes. I'm going to take I can't take a team that's under 500. It's just a rule of thumb here. So I'm going Alabama State, Alcorn State, It could be Pauly State for that matter over St. Francis, but Auburn advances. Number 8, Louisville. 9, Creighton. Very good one.
Yeah, so this is a Big East ACC clash. Back in the day, they used to play these two
Yep.
conferences. This was another interesting game that I was itching to see. I'm like, this is like a toss up to me. Louisville's 2.5 point favorites in that game. I'm taking Creighton, of course. I have to stick with my Big East boys. Kalkbrenner has been there for how many years? 10, 12?
72.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then Ashworth too, right? He's probably
Ashworth is I think he's 82 years old. It's an astounding feat. I loved him at Utah State though. I did. Like I watched him there. I liked him there.
yeah. So I'm sticking with the Big East boys and Creighton over Louisville.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you. I've got Creighton on this. Same thing. I don't love the ACC. I think Louisville caught Clemson on a bad night. I do like Chucky Hepburn, Wisconsin transfer for Louisville, but I think Creighton showed a lot. And even if the loss to St. John's yesterday, they had a lead in the second half. St. John's defensive pressure just wore them down. But I thought Creighton represented well until the last 5 minutes. I'm with you. Give me Creighton to advance. This one's a good one, and Mitch is already bitching about this one. Michigan 5 seed versus 12 UCal San Diego, who is very good. I've been talking about them for months. Yeah, I told them to settle down. But then I said, yeah, you might be in trouble on this one. Anyway,
All right. So last week, right, I was saying Michigan's on the wrong side. Their trajectory is going down.
yeah,
Sorry, Mitch. And then they go on this run and prove me completely wrong.
yeah,
Of course. But I'm sticking with it because I looked at the spread too. Michigan's only favored by 3.5
yep.
over the team, which really scares me. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually going, sorry, Mitch, against Michigan here. UC San Diego.
Yeah, well, Mitch and me might be in a physical tussle because I'm going to see San Diego. I'll be watching with them. But again, you've heard me all year. They're very good. To your point, though, and we know this, the conference tourneys, some teams don't go all out in them. Good on Michigan. I think they needed to for them get it together. But I'm not buying that one good weekend changes what they've been down the stretch. I'm with you. UCal San Diego, they advance. We're then going to go another really good one. Number 4, Texas A&M versus 13 Yale Bulldogs, who beat an SEC team, Auburn, in the tournament last year. They're back.
They're back, and I'm running it back. I'm taking them. I'm taking the Yale Bulldogs.
I am too, and I wish they weren't playing each other. I really respect Texas A&M, Wade Taylor, their defense, but when their offense is bad, it looks. Yale is physical. They're a physical team. That this is not. I think people are going to think this is some bad matchup, physicality. It's not. Yale's actually a physical team. I am with you. Give me an upset again for the Yale Bulldogs. We are then going to go with the number 6 Ole Miss Rebels, and they are playing a very good playing game. The winner of Carolina and San Diego State, if I'm correct. What do you got in the playing game to get to Ole Miss?
So I see Carolina's 3.5 point favorites on that. We like San Diego State, of course, Mountain West. You're right. Carolina has been playing better. I think they won 8 of the last 10.
Yeah, they played really well. The only losses were to Duke.
You mentioned that horrible lane violation. I felt so bad for the
Oh,
kid. One thing, props to Hubert Davis. If you saw him standing right by his side, he didn't hang him out to dry at the press conference. He was right with him. Like that was a class act, and I
yeah.
applaud that.
Yep, no doubt.
Maybe that could be a rallying point for them. I think um, go on a little run here. So
I'm in total agreement with you on that. And a couple things about that. So we have to talk that play for a second. If you saw the play, I forgot who was at the line. He has like a jerky motion, right? So it's not a fluid, like when he gets to a point, he pauses. So don't forget, right? Caroline is down 1. He's got to get in the lane for a rebound. Because if he misses it, right, it just was a mistake. It wasn't bonehead. It sucked, right? I'm with you. I think Carolina's played better. RJ Davis has gotten to a title game. I mean, he's still the lead guard. I am buying the rallying point. I'm with you. As much as I like San Diego State, they've been more erratic this year. I think Carolina actually, even though we might not think they should have gotten in, I think they're worthy, and I think they get a win to go on and play Ole Miss.
Agree.
Who
And
do you
then
got? Who do you got? Ole Miss Rebels and Tar Heels.
I'm actually taking Carolina. I think they're going to win the first two games, the play-in and the first round upset over Ole Miss.
I don't think that's crazy at all. I'm personally going to take Ole Miss. I like what I saw about them this weekend. Um, Clutch shot. Padula hit that three to win in the quarterfinals. They played solid. They had I'm forgetting. They lost to Auburn, correct? Yeah, close game in the fight. Went down the final minute. Give me Ole Miss to advance in that one. Iowa State, number 3 seed versus number 14 Lipscomb. And a note about this: Keyshawn Gilbert has been ruled out at least for the first round. So that is a factor in Iowa State's chances going forward.
Yeah, I saw no timetable was
Yeah,
announced on that, but
that's not good.
no further notice, basically.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, definitely not good news for the Cyclones, but I am advancing them here. I still think they win and move on.
Yeah, I'm with you too. Too much talent in that game. Yeah, I'm with you. I got Iowa State. I don't think it'll get them that round. I'm with Iowa State. Number 7, Marquette, Big East versus number 10, New Mexico and Patino. But it's Rick Pitino's son coaching over there.
Yeah, this one I almost threw them on the duds or the wrong trajectory, but they're my Big East team, so I'll be rooting for them. I wouldn't be surprised if New Mexico pulls this off, actually.
So I've seen Marquette's been back and forth. There's within games. Look at the Big East. They played a terrible first half against Xavier, rallied, nice win. They looked excellent against St. John's, and then unraveled. And I don't know if you were there, so I'm asking, did you see it? Joplin could not, the big guy could not play a worse game if he tried, because he's a decent player. He was horrendous that night. He must have turned the ball over. It seemed like every other possession, right?
I don't know if he scored a point.
He hit a three. But no, the funny thing is, when they went ice cold. Remember, they were like 5 of 6 to start from three. They missed, I think it was 11 in a row. He hit a three. That was like the only hoop he made. Anyhow, but I still think they're more talented than that debacle. I'm with you. I'm going to go Marquette. I've seen New Mexico. They haven't been as good on the road this year. I'm gonna take Marquette personally.
Yeah, I'm rooting for Marquette. I mean, Cam Jones is one of my favorite
Yep.
non-UK players, and he's unstoppable, taking it to the hoop.
Yep.
So I'll be rooting for them, but my brackets, I have New Mexico.
Oh, okay. All right. Going to Mexico. Yeah, I'm going to go Marquette here. Number 2, Michigan State versus number 15, Bryant.
Michigan State advances, but that Bryant team, I'm sure you have seen them. I saw them in their conference tournament. They're a big team. They're like an
Mm-hmm.
NBA size team. I think their shortest player was like 6'5", like their point guard, and they're all like 6'5" to 6'9".
Yep.
Like they are a
Yeah,
big.
they're a nice squad. They are. They were the 1 seed in their conference, so that they're legit. It wasn't a yep.
I don't think it's going to make a difference in this game, but after watching them, I was hoping they were getting
Sure.
an opportunity for an upset.
Yeah, I'm not reading too much into Michigan State's loss to Wisconsin. I think Michigan State's still the better team. I'm not going to vary off that. Michigan State wins. Let's go. We're going to have then Auburn versus Creighton. SEC Big East.
So I'm advancing Auburn. I think Creighton's just doesn't have the firepower to stick with them, and we finally call it a career. I hope for Kalkbrenner and Ashworth.
Yeah, I'd love to see it. I won't. I mean, Auburn has lost 3 or 4. Quick note: no team has ever won the title going in the tournament losing 3 of the last 4. By the way, I don't think the depth of Creighton can hang over 40 minutes again. I'm with you. Unfortunately, going to take Auburn. We both have UCal San Diego versus Yale.
Yeah, the 12-13 matchup.
Yep.
So this is where everyone's bracket gets all mucked up, right?
Yep.
So I'm sticking with Yale, and again filling out the
Oh.
brackets because I want to see this Yale Auburn rematch, right?
That's a good point. I wasn't even looking that far ahead. Yep. I unfortunately I like UC San Diego. I think they're going to advance. We then go down. We're going to have Carolina and Iowa State.
Yes, correct. Um, uh, Again, I like this Iowa State team. I know they're a little banged up and injuries, but I think they're outstanding offensively and defensively. They'll run and gun probably with Carolina. I think they have more weapons, even
Sure.
with.
So I have Ole Miss on that game against Iowa State. I am actually concerned with the Gilbert injury because Lipsy, the point guard, he sat out too. He's going to be back, but is he 100%? I think that's a concern for me. I'm going to take Ole Miss to advance there. You have New Mexico and Michigan State second round.
Michigan State advancing. Sparty moving on.
Yeah, I have Marquette and Michigan State. I will say, actually, Marquette and Michigan State, funny enough, met up in the second round 2 years ago in the tournament. I think the same outcome occurs. I don't think Michigan State is going to lose to Marquette. Give me Michigan State. So then we both have. Oh no, sorry. You have Auburn and Yale.
Yes. And I'm thinking Auburn gets revenge this year and doesn't let Yale knock them out of the tournament. So I'm advancing the Tigers.
Yeah, as much as I've been on this UC San Diego team for months, I don't see it against Auburn. Um, it's funny. I'm realizing my bracket from afar. I usually don't have this much chalk, but we've said before these top teams this year are really good. They are really good. I'm with you. I'm going to have Auburn advancing there, and then I have Michigan State and Ole Miss. Oh, I'm tempted here with Ole Miss, but the problem is I'm going to have to stick with Michigan State because I think that Ole Miss bracket, that pod is much tougher. I have much more faith Michigan State gets through. Give me Michigan State, and then we have Auburn and Michigan State.
I have Auburn. And I was thinking the same thing when I was filling out my brackets. I'm like, how did I end up with so much chalk here? But I'm going Auburn here out of the South.
I'm actually going to take Michigan State here. I get back to what we talked about earlier. I worried about that Alabama loss when they didn't really know what to do in the last possession. I didn't like any of that. I know how good they are. I don't feel great about that 3 or 4. I think Michigan State is actually, they're a good tourney team most years. Which means, though, when I pick them, they'll go out first round because it's the worst team I've ever been in the history of life. So definitely a lock for Auburn, but I'm going to take Michigan State. All right, Kev. So now we're on to a bracket that, well, I know you're going to be familiar with this one, and I'm going to guess you're not going to be too happy with this one. We're going out west. Um, yeah. What's your overall thought on this bracket before we get to the matchups? Because I know mine.
Well, the good old saying, the West is the best. I think this bracket is loaded and by far the most difficult path for every team because there's so many good teams out there.
Yeah, I'm with you. And obviously, we're thinking first for the Huskies, but whoever you are, like Florida, the 1 seed, you got to look at that bracket. Florida's been playing as you can make an argument the best basketball of anyone right now, and you're looking at possibly UConn. Yeah, hey, listen, even if it's Oklahoma, they have a guard who's probably a lottery pick. You have St. John's, Texas Tech, underrated, the Crab Five, of Maryland. Yeah, that's loaded. Yeah. So, well, why don't we kick off this bracket? And the opening game will be, well, look at the top of it, Florida and Norfolk State. Obviously, I'm thinking you're taking Norfolk State, correct?
Yeah, like you said, easy advance for Florida. They're probably playing the best ball in the country right now.
Yeah, they're loaded. You know something I saw more? Listen, I probably didn't notice as much because I feel like, and I've watched a lot of Florida. I feel like most games they're shooting the lights out and they have bigs. And what I noticed today more so than I had all year, I was taking Florida, is one of the huge strengths they have is even when they don't shoot well, they get a ton of offensive rebounds. They're bit right. So like some teams are like, oh, what if they don't shoot well? Well, then just shoot it again. That's something today that I did glean off them because Tennessee's not some small like they abuse them on the offensive glass. So we got Florida, and I think this game, number 8, UConn Huskies, the 2-time defending champions, versus Sooner Nation, number 9, Oklahoma.
Yeah, I mean, we got the seed where we expected, right? We were going to be an 8 or 9 seed. Looking at the brackets, I thought for sure we were going to be going to Duke's region and play in Raleigh, North Carolina, and give them a home game, basically. So I was kind of shocked and relieved when we were not placed in that region.
Yep.
And then when the last region was announced, the West, I'm like, oh, great, we get Florida.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
What's the better option here?
Yeah. I'd agree.
Um, so
Well,
yeah, of course I have them advancing over Oklahoma. I know that's going to be a tough game.
yep. I'd
Uh,
agree.
I know we're not the same team as the last 2 years.
No.
In reality.
No.
Um, but yeah, I'm hoping we advance and take on Florida and have some magic.
Yeah. Like I get it. I think this is a very good close game. I am as well. I'm going to take UConn. With that being said, in full disclosure, I personally I'm not the least bit shocked if Oklahoma does win that game. Personally, I think it's going to be a very good one. I will take UConn to advance to the next round, and we'll get to that in a little bit. Number five, Memphis versus number 12, Colorado State. Two things about this, by the way. Memphis, Tyrese Hunter for Memphis, who I know you saw him. He had a huge game against UConn out in Maui. He's questionable. He's banged up right now. Number 12, Colorado State. PK Clifford is as hot as anyone in the nation. And he's going to be the best player on the floor in that game, even with Haggerty, with Hunter, all that. Anyway, great matchup. What do you think out of Memphis, Colorado State?
So let me just add one more tidbit and note to those listeners
Please.
out. There's always upsets, right? 4-13, 5-12. This spread, I don't know if you got a chance to look at. Colorado State, the 12 seed, is actually favored by 2.5 points.
I was going to say I thought I did see that. I am curious. Is that the Hunter consideration? But if you heard me all week, Colorado State's been playing lights out ball, so I'm actually not shocked by this. I'm not. The metrics don't have. The eye test tells you Memphis is good. Like some of the metrics out there, actually, grain of salt. They don't have Memphis as high. So anyhow,
So we do see that happen in the tournament, having these lower seeds be favored. But just for those of you filling out brackets, don't just blindly look at seeds and say, all right, Memphis 5-12, advance Memphis, because they are underdogs in this,
correct.
and it could change throughout the week until tip off of that game. But um, as I mentioned, I'm not a big Memphis fan since they put a beat down on us in Maui. Not really a Penny Hardaway fan. So I'm going with Colorado State here and taking the Rams.
Yeah, I'm with you too. The Hunter injury does worry me. There's no doubt. Haggerty, the point guard's excellent. Dane Danger, classic name, big guy from Memphis. They've been totally different with him in the middle or in the starting lineup, I should say. But I'm with you. Like that Colorado State run was real. They've been playing very good ball for a while. I think they're a dangerous team. I'm with you. Give me Colorado State. We then have the Crab Five from Maryland, another classic nickname. Number 4 seed versus number 13 Grand Canyon.
So I know that's Bryce Drew's team.
Correct.
Uh, Grand
And that I
Canyon.
will say this: I don't think they're last year they got an upset. They beat St. Mary's first round. I don't think they're as good as team, but that Grant Foster kid they have, if you haven't seen him or anyone hasn't, when I talk about athletic, this kid could literally, I think he's the type you could put the quarter on top of the backboard and he could jump and take it off. Like that's the athleticism from him you're seeing. But anyhow,
So I'm going with Maryland. I'm high on Maryland, as we talked about last week. Um, Queen, who looks like he's 11, 12 years old.
yep. He's like a big giant, a baby giant.
But we talked about Michigan earlier when in the Big Ten championship, they beat Maryland on a last second runner to knock Maryland out of the Big Ten tournament there. But I'm a Maryland fan here, so I'm advancing the Terps.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm high in Maryland, and again, conference tournament, it is what it is. But yes, they lost to Michigan. I still think they're the better team than Michigan. And if you saw Friday night, like I said, the beating that they put on Illinois, sorry, an absolute beating. I think Maryland's for real. Excellent starting five. Depth of question. I don't think Grand Canyon is as good as last year. Give me Maryland. We then have number 6 Missouri versus 11 Drake.
I'm looking forward to this one too. Again, like contrasting styles. Missouri run, gun, a lot of offense, sometimes not so much defense. Where Drake, I think this could be the darling of the tournament here. Bennett Sturts. I watched the championship game. He's just smooth, calm,
Yeah,
cool,
he's a good player.
draining threes like they're nothing.
Yeah.
So I think he's the leader of that team. That's a name you'll get to know. I'm going with the upset here, Drake over Missouri.
This I'm torn on this one. So my thoughts on Drake all year, and I love the story. If you don't know the coach, he took what four of his starters. They come from a D2 program. They came in, obviously didn't miss a beat. DeVries, their old coach, who did a great job, went to West Virginia, but you would have thought it's the same team, great record. I didn't think all year they were as good as last year's team. I still don't, but they're finding ways to win. Like if you look, I think there's about 8 or 9, and I'm not exaggerating, like one possession, games that they won. There's something to be said for that. Missouri's been it's tough, right? They're good days. They look unbelievable. I, I'm I want Drake. I think I'm going to take Missouri. I think I'm going to take Mitchell down low. The transfer from Duke. He's been big time. Again, great game. I rooting for Drake. I'm going to have to take Missouri on this one. Down number 3, Texas Tech, the Red Raiders versus number 14, UNC Wilmington.
I'm advancing the Red Raiders here, just for your brother.
Yes, yes. My brother and I, he lives right near there. We've actually been to a game. We saw them upset Kansas a few years ago. Was Kansas number 1? I think Texas Tech legit, very good team. JT Toppin's a star. They do have some injury concerns. I just heard their coach a couple minutes ago. 2 of their players, he's not sure. I think they get through this game anyway. They still have a ton of talent. Give me Texas Tech. This is a matchup of some big time coaches here. We have Bill Self in Kansas versus John Calipari in the Arkansas Razorbacks.
Yep. So both teams have been really up and down, right? The
Yep.
entire year, the high expectations of Kansas, the preseason number one, fresh start for Calipari. Took a couple of his Kentucky players, but really at one point didn't even have a roster
Yep.
at
Yeah.
Arkansas. Um,
Quick note,
oof.
Kev, by the way, I just don't know if you heard because a lot of this stuff is coming quickly. Boogie Fland, who is probably a first round pick guard for Arkansas, who has been out for a while, they're saying he is going to play, by the way. Just FYI.
Yeah, which should give them a boost,
Correct. He's
needed
good.
boost. And as Greg mentioned, they got knocked out, right, in the conference tournament by Padula's three after
Yeah.
missing
Very good game.
3 games.
Very, very good game.
So I'm going to go Kansas here.
Really? I'm surprised that I know you've been down in Kansas and I don't disagree. Dickinson's been great, and we've said that a number of times. They've just as a team not been. I'm going to go Arkansas here. I do think Fland is a factor. I just and call this as much a anti-Kansas. I'm not trying to bash them. They've looked bad too many times when I've seen them. I'm going to take Arkansas here.
Did
Then
these two teams tie? Is there any
what's
way that
that?
happened? Did these two teams tie, perhaps, and both be eliminated,
Or
or
both lose? I've seen crazier, right? I mean, think back to the COVID year and then the year after. I forgot one team had a forfeit because they had too many guys with COVID. I forgot who it was, but who knows? Maybe something like that happens, right? Bird flu, that's been going around, right? Speaking of birds, let's fly over to the Johnnies, St. John's, the number 2 seed, coming off the Big East Conference tournament winners, as Kev saw in person, versus number 15 Omaha, who has been a lot of fun to watch this year. I will say that.
yeah, I'm going with the Johnnies here, no doubt. Big
Yeah,
East champions, yeah, 18-2 regular season, but they lose 4 games by a total of like 7 points or something
yeah,
like ridiculous like that. Um, Solid D, and like we keep reiterating, right? The defense doesn't go away. That effort doesn't
no.
go away. When teams are playing 40 minutes of great defensive ball.
Oh, they just warned you were there. I mean, you could see it. They just wore Marquette in particular. That game, it looked like they didn't get one clean shot the last 30 minutes of that game. Not one.
Right. So yeah, I'm rolling with the Johnnies.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think so. Omaha, who they have been fun, and they've had this tradition. If you've seen, it's actually kind of funny. They like bash the trash can. Unfortunately for them, I think they're going to be in the trash can quickly at this game. Give me the Johnnies to advance. So we'll go back to the top of the bracket, and here it is. Number 1, Florida. Number 8, 2-time champ Huskies. I know what you want to pick here. Well,
Yeah,
we'll let you have the stage.
right. The typical heart versus head.
Yeah, yeah,
My heart says the Huskies.
yeah,
My head is saying the Gators. So
yeah.
unfortunately, yeah, the three-peat probably ends at this point, and the talk of the three-peat could finally go away.
Yeah.
It's not easy to win one
No.
championship. It's not easy to win back to back. So, UConn fans, please lower expectations and don't think this is easy and something that happens every year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Florida advances.
Yep, unfortunately I'm with you. And not only listen, we knew they was going to have a tough game regardless. They were probably at an 8-9 seed. I still think, hey, like you said, you're coming off two titles. You made the tourney. You've had a good year, up and down, but nonetheless, you made the tourney, right? Florida, not only are they loaded, they're playing their best ball right now too, right? It's not like we talked about Auburn earlier, who I still think Auburn's really good, but they've been struggling. Florida's been the exact opposite. They're on fire right now. I think it's just too much. I think UConn goes down, Florida advances. With that said, news being said, okay, we're going to go Colorado State, who we had both as an upset as a 12 seed, versus the Crab 5 Maryland Terrapins.
I'm going with Maryland to advance over Colorado State. Angel Reese's brother, the walking double double.
Yep.
Pretty solid. So Terps, move on.
Yeah, I will say this: Colorado State, like the Clifford kid, like for people who haven't seen him, he's really, really good. I think there's a live shot here. I do, and this is where one of the weaknesses of Maryland, their depth. We said if they get into foul trouble. That being said, I think the talent is too much. I think it's a good game, but hard for me to go against Maryland. I'm going to take Maryland to advance here as well. Then you're going to have Drake versus the Texas Tech Red Raiders.
Yes. And I'm advancing Drake. So this is my kind of
Oh,
Cinderella story here or upset special.
okay.
Uh,
Not crazy.
great
I
storyline.
have. Oh, sorry, go on.
I was gonna say just great storyline that you touched upon, and I think that continues, and they're gonna be, everyone's favorite and talking about Drake.
Hey Drake, give me a break. Remember those commercials? They're going to give you a break. Hey, they're either going to give you a break or they're going to break your bank account if you take them, right? So, anyway, so I have Missouri going against Texas Tech, and I just think Texas Tech is still kind of flying under the radar here. They're very good. They're a really good team. I just have faith in that Texas Tech squad. I think they're going to advance to move on. Then you have Kansas versus the Johnnies.
Sticking with the Big East boys, because like we said, Kansas inconsistent.
Yeah, yeah, no
The
doubt.
sloppy play. Just, I mean, Hunter has been awesome, but whoa, the
Well,
rest of the
you just touched on the sloppy play, and they have been that. And the worst team in the nation, if you're going to play sloppy right now, is St. John's. They're going to eat that up. I'm with you. I don't think this would even be a close game if it was that matchup. On the other hand, have Arkansas in that game. Arkansas does have a lot of upside, a lot of talent. Same thing though. I think St. Johnny's too much out of them. I'm going to have St. John's advancing. So then we're looking at Florida and the Maryland Crab Five, which has the potential to be an outstanding Sweet 16 game.
So I'm advancing the Gators there just because of the depth that they have and the bench. And it's like I heard the analogy tonight that they're like a hockey team. They're just bringing another
Yeah,
shield
waving lines at you. Yep, that's
into the
true.
game. And with Maryland's lack of bench,
Yep,
uh,
good
I
point.
think that definitely favors Florida in
Yeah,
this match.
I'm with you. That is a great point on that. I'm kind of the same because Maryland's starting five, as we know, is excellent, but that is a concern. I mean, you foul. Listen, and Florida is aggressive, so you're going to see a lot of fouls when they play in games. They're pushing the tempo. There's a lot of possessions. I don't think that bodes well for Maryland because of the depth. I'm with you. Give me the Gators to advance. Then you have Drake trying to give you another break again, or Drake and the Johnnies.
Well, I'm going to pump the brakes on Drake here and ride that red storm right to the next round. Johnny's advance.
Okay, so I'm gonna have what am I looking at here? So I now have Texas Tech versus the Johnnies. This game pains me, and I'm going to tell you why. I still I can't get one thing out of my head about the Johnnies. As much as I love them and they're playing great ball, there's two things about the Johnnies I don't love. 289th in the nation of free throw shooting. And we saw even when we were there, like especially the Marquette game, they could have been up 10 more points early. They kept missing free throws. They've been better from three lately, but they still are 339 ranked. And I think there's 350 teams. My concern is this. They got away with it against Marquette and Creighton. They fell into a decent hole in both games. I'm rooting Johnny. That does scare me. I think if they have that game against, if that's Texas Tech, I think the Red Raiders will win that. I reluctantly, and I hate it, and I could change course, but as of this moment, I'm gonna actually take the Texas Tech Red Raiders to advance in that game. Sadly, don't like it, but I have to do it. It's what I feel on that. And then we have the Johnnies and the Florida Gators for you, which would be a fantastic matchup.
Yeah, I would love to see this game. Maybe that's why I picked
Yeah,
these.
no, but they're both playing great ball. I mean,
Yeah, so I'm sticking with the Big East here. And I know I agree with you. Florida's playing the best ball. Definitely concerns with free throw shooting for
yep.
St. John's. Uh, the one thing I do like about St. John's, Providence for the first two games, Newark. No, that is incorrect, right? That's the
I'm
East.
forgetting. I'm not seeing. I'm looking at the bracket. I'm forgetting.
I think I'm botching that. They're playing Providence for the first two rounds, I believe.
Okay, which that's. I mean, that's
All right, and then they'd be out west for the Sweet 16.
that would be right.
All right, so I'm still sticking with the Johnnies. I'm still sticking with the Big East boys.
Yeah.
Hopefully, it doesn't come down to free throws because I'd hate to see Kadari Richmond in a Danielle Marshall
Oh, jeez.
situation against
Yeah.
Florida from back in the day.
Yeah.
But it's my Big East bias, no doubt.
No,
I'm
but
St. John's to the
I don't
final.
see. I don't think it's crazy. And here, I'm going to let me back up a second because I said this prior to the Big East tournament. St. John's, if they're an underdog, if they get to that game in Florida, there is absolutely nobody in the country who wants to play St. John's. They're just going to make that game miserable. St. John's gets to Florida. Oh, they definitely have a shot. There's no doubt about it. I mean, the way they play, Ejiofor was an absolute monster. I respect that through and through. I do worry, like I said, like give me the Sweet 16 round. Does that shooting get them sooner or later? I'm just afraid it does. Thinks Johnny's would have a shot, but I'm obviously going Texas Tech anyway. I'm going to take Florida to advance, and I think it's the first time I've taken 3 1 seeds ever in my life. But and I'm trying not to, but I that's just what I see, quality at the top. So then we're at the Final Four. So then well, Duke. Do we still have Duke? I'm still trying to like you haven't had like 20 beers. I haven't either tonight. Like is we sure we're on Duke?
Not sure what we're thinking here.
So Duke, I have Duke Houston, and am I correct that you do as well?
Correct.
Okay, so let you start. Duke Houston.
So this is the game last year, right? And we brought this up
That's
last
exactly
week.
it.
Without the injury to Shed, and I've heard even Bill say this, Houston wins that game.
No doubt
So
about it.
I'm glad they have another shot at that, and Houston's going to win this game. So I'm picking Houston over Duke this year. They could battle with them. They're not going to be afraid. They're probably
Will not.
more intimidating than the Duke team. But this is that game that I mentioned last week, right? Getting the tight game because the East is the least. The East Duke has the easiest path to the Final
Yes,
Four.
they definitely do, which would be hard to pick against them getting there because of that. They do.
I'm not going to say they're going to roll to these 20 to 30 point wins again, but they meet up with Houston, who gets in their mug and plays that St. John's like defense,
Yep.
gets them rattled. I think Duke's getting to the Final Four, but they're going to be knocked out by Houston.
Yeah, I am totally on board. And this is not just an anti-Duke take. It's not. Listen, there is something to consider here. Malik Brown I'm guessing as of now, he's probably not. He dislocated his shoulder again. He's probably not going to play on the defensive end. They're going to need him at some point. That's a loss. And looks like Cooper Flag's going to play. But don't forget, anybody who's played hoops or any sport who's sprained an ankle, you might be all right, but you're not 100%. And you roll that ankle one more time, right? Like now you're in big trouble. Now you're out for a longer period. We don't know how healthy that's going to be. And Houston, as of this year, is just different. We know them as grind it out, mix it up. Ugly basketball, but I like that style just because it's tough. They have an injury concern. Roberts sat out the Big 12 tournament, but it looks like he will be back. And I just think that they're a much better shooting team than they've been in years. One of the best 3-point shooting teams in the country, actually. I think Houston is the team that I trust the most to not get upset early. You know what I mean by that? Like, I don't know if their ceiling is the highest of all the teams, but I think their floor is very high. Mind you, tough second round game. But I think Houston, I'm with you. Legit reasons I think Houston with the experience, toughness, they beat Duke. Huh. This feels good. This feels better, doesn't it?
Yeah, now we're back. We're back.
Okay. Okay.
What were we
Man.
thinking?
Right. Jeez. All right. Let's then we have the other matchup. We have so you have, correct me if I'm wrong, you have Auburn in the Final Four, is that correct?
Yes,
Yep.
Auburn versus the Johnnies.
You have Auburn Johnnies. So where are you going there?
So I would love to see the Big East in the championship game, but I think this is where the St. John's season ends, unfortunately. I'm sticking with Auburn, and I know they're not the hottest like
Yep.
Florida. I think they've been consistent. I think they have the most quad one wins. Maybe Florida does at this point after the SEC tournament, but I think they're solid. So I'm going with an Auburn Houston final Monday night in San Antonio.
Interesting. So I didn't want to go any further. I just because I'm so happy you got Duke out at this point. I'm just like, yeah, this is great. Okay, so I will go. I have Michigan State in that bracket, in Auburn's bracket, advancing. So I have Michigan State meeting up with Florida. And as much as Michigan State's offense has been better, I don't think it's on the level of Florida's. I don't think they can, even if they want to get that in a rock fight, Florida's tempo is too much, depth, size. I got Florida advancing. I have Florida Houston in the final. So now we're on to the final. Tell who's cutting down the nets.
So I'm sticking with my pick from last week. I'm going with Calvin Sampson's troops in Houston, winning it in the state of Texas. Happy ending fairy tale story.
So last week when we talked, and we didn't we didn't see the brackets or anything. I said Florida was my pick, and I have nothing to veer off of that by any means. And again, if you saw the SEC tournament, they were unbelievable. Scary prospect want to play them, but something I just alluded to, where I think Florida's ceiling is the highest. I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of young kids who haven't been in this spot. The tempo can help you at times, but if they get in trouble, do they force it too much? And when I thought more about this about Houston is I don't think you're going to rattle Houston. I don't think in any game scenario they get out of sorts. Sampson's a hell of a coach, and I agree they've kind of been knocking on this door. I'm actually going to agree with you. I'm going to take the Houston Cougars, same as you, to cut down the nets, and Kelvin gets it done with the Cougars. We like Cougars.
And out of the four number one seeds, they have the best odds. So if you want to look at placing any wagers on one of the number one seeds,
Does anyone do that out there?
Houston may give you the most value out of those four.
Yeah. No, so I mean, so the tourney on a whole, as we said, and it's rare for me. I don't think I've ever taken 3-1 seeds to make the Final Four, but I don't remember a year where I feel those teams at the top they're just really that good. Now, you had the Johnnies, like I could see the Johnnies as the 2 seed. I'm not saying it's definitely going to be, but they're just really, really good teams, these squads out there.
Right.
I think So I think we'll see our fair share of ups as we always do, and there'll be some team out of nowhere that we're like, what the heck just happened? That's why we love it. So it's probably not going to be 3-1 seeds, but I think as the tourney goes on, I think you'll see those higher seeds. I just there's just a lot of firepower out of those teams. Yeah,
Right. I have three number one seeds as
yeah,
well, and shook my head when I saw that. I'm like, how did I
yeah,
get that? Here
yeah.
we are.
Same here. Yeah. And again, this, as we know, what we love most about the tournament is that there will be the completely unexpected. And even we're talking people doing their brackets, like, yeah, there's teams like I love UC San Diego. There's going to be someone out of nowhere that we haven't even really, like a Troy or somebody like that. You get it. Like that's why they call it madness. So, with that being said, we got a big week ahead. So, as we like to call it, we have a big squad. So, we have a little bit of a split squad this year. We got Paul George's, Big Top George, Paulie, goes by many things. He's unfortunate. I think he's going to be solo in Connecticut because he's going out to Greece later in the year. So, tell us, you and the tree hugger I hear are going to be balling it out in Pittsburgh, correct?
Yep, the tree hugger will be visiting again here. We'll be out and about, as well as here in Poor Decisions watching some games. The bookmaker may be driving up
Oh,
from
nice.
Virginia. So yeah, we'll be watching basketball for, well, I was gonna say 4 straight days, 6 straight days,
Yeah.
Tuesday, Wednesday as well,
Yeah,
right?
basically all month. So we're 7 deep. Our part of the squad. We're going down to Fort Lauderdale. The boys are going to be fired up as usual. Not going to be much sleep. Nothing relaxing whatsoever. I'm going to feel like I played 4 days straight, which in some ways we will have. And no, it's going to be awesome. And the like we said, the first round in particular, just they look like great matchups left and right. Right? It just like I'll give the committee credit. Like I was like, wow, that's pretty good, right? So,
Yeah,
so yeah, we're gonna
great
do
first
it.
round matches.
Yep. So we're gonna be down in Florida, and Kevs, I know we talked about that. I think I'm definitely gonna be doing nightly or morning hits during the tournament the first weekend. Hopefully, Kevs will join in from Pittsburgh, Tree Hugger. We'll figure that all out, but we will be on the air in some form and licking our wounds most likely. so, so anyway, Kevs, thanks a lot. It was fun as usual. Going to be an awesome tourney. Everyone out there, get your brackets ready. Get your shillings ready to place a few wagers if you do that, like some of the people we know and some of the people on this podcast right now. So anyway, so with that being said, everyone, thank you very much. Have a blast. It's an awesome time of year. Enjoy the month, enjoy the tourney, and happy hoops, everyone.